Double click Reaper. This will time out until it's paid for. Click Still Evaluating. Now open up your startup template. It'll be under Recent Projects. Right here, Startup 2. Most important thing to do is go to File, Project Settings, click on the Media tab, click Browse, go to Reaper, make new folder. Call this anything you want. Num1, for example. Click OK. Then go to here, Browse, go to that folder you just made, which is going to be in the Reaper folder. Make new folder. The exact same name. Click OK. Click OK. See, it says Startup 2 here. You don't want to ever lose this. It says it's modified. So what you do now is you go File, Save As. Scroll to the files you just made. Num1, Num1, and change this to Num1. Save. Now it's Num1. It doesn't show anything modified because we've done nothing yet. And you've preserved your Startup 2 file. Okay, we're still working on Num1. This time we're going to show the settings for your inputs and stuff. This is usually will default to this in, and that's all it is right here. Record audio or MIDI. So that's fine. Just leave that as is. Input 1 is mono, coming from your Focusrite. So that's all set there. If you're using the second input on it, you could go to 2 on the Focusrite. The next thing you do is just push the red button. As I strum my guitar, you can see a reading, but you're not going to hear anything, and I'm not sure you're going to hear it on this screen capture either. But if you have your Focusrite set to direct monitoring off, you're not going to hear anything until you bring this fader up. And then you should hear the guitar. If this is down and you go to your Focusrite and select direct monitoring on, you will hear your guitar. So I'm going to shut it off, direct monitoring off on the Focusrite for the time being. I'm going to bring this up so I hear my guitar. You click this to arm it, and then you just simply do this. Push the record button. You should see a WAV file. That's your first recording. To do a second track and listen to the first one while it plays, you just disarm the first track, arm the second track. This is set to in as usual. This is set to input 1, if that's what you're using on your Focusrite. You bring this up so you can hear what your second track is as it's going in. You can set this to none if you want. It doesn't really matter, because you've already got your audio here. So this is all set to armed, and you just simply press record again. And now you've got two tracks down. Obviously, these aren't anything to have to do with one another. I just strum it on the guitar. And if you want to play this back too, you just disarm it and just use your volume knob here. About other things you should know, here's your pan knob. You can pan that one to your left. You can pan this one to your right. So you have two tracks recorded now. And if you want to add a plugin, you go to this FX button. There's a lot of ways of finding plugins in here. I kind of know them as by developers. And this one here is, well, you can see you go to Blue Cat Audio and there's like an amp in there. But you know, you've already got a track down and you just want to add reverb. And this is a pretty good reverb. It's free. And always choose a VST3 if available. Click Add. This will pop up. And this has all kinds of settings in here. And you can minimize this if you want, or just exit out actually. And because of the way capture works, you won't hear it, but there's now reverb added to this one track. I'll push play anyway. Another thing to know about this too is that you can disable it here. You can also go in here and highlight it and click remove. And that removes the plugin from that track. If you've completed recording and you just want to out these to a WAV file or an MP3, the way you do that is you go to File, Render, and you choose a place you want the file to end up. I usually just browse for a directory and choose the desktop just so I don't lose it. And you can name it what you want, but it's the same name as here. Most of the stuff is pretty default, stereo and all that. The only thing down here is the format. So we got it for WAV. You can send it to a lot of different things, including an MP3, but we'll leave it on WAV for now. And in this here section, Master Mix, Entire Project. I'll show you a time selection after this, and you click Render One File. So it's done. You can click Close. I'm going to minimize this. And here it is on our desktop as a WAV file. Open that back up again. This time I'm going to show you how to render just as a section. Say you just want this little area here. Just drag this line across. Also, I wanted to make mention this is on grid. You can see the lines coming down. At times you might want to select this off grid. It gives you more freedom to move things. I'll put the grid on for now. So here's the time selection. Now if we want to render just that little area, go to File, Render. Once again, we'll output as an WAV file to the desktop. Call it number 1. Well, maybe you might need to change this to number 2 if your original WAV file is still on the desktop. So I'll call this 2. Instead of Entire Project, just select Time Selection. Render One File. Should be pretty quick because it's a small area. Done in a heartbeat. Close this down. Go to your desktop. And there's number 2. And you do the same for if you want an MP3, just change wave to MP3. To get rid of this time selection here, you just right click, remove selection. It takes care of that. Other things that might be of interest is this view here. This will click on this and your mixer will come up. So here's your mixer for all your 12 tracks that are in your Ed Start 2 project. And if you move this, you can see it moves over there. Same with here. You push play, and your meters and your master are over here. Click this down. I have this set up with things floating. It's the way I prefer it. That way you can stick them in different places. If at some point things get lost on you, you can always go to View and check Transport if the transport disappears, or check Mixer if the mixer disappears. Probably the most useful tool for mixing down is to have the automation set up. In order to do that, you go to Trim over here. So we're going to just automate this first track here. I'm going to bring this down. Oh, another tip is if you hold Control and your cursor's over here, you can make these things as small or as big as you want, as well as just pulling them down like that. On the track view over here, scrolling your mouse will extend that to make it larger. So anyway, back to the automation. You go to Trim. This box pops up. We're going to do the volume only. And all these are armed now. And you select Read, right, I'm sorry, over here. And you can see it changes this to a different color. Just X that out. I'm going to rewind it. In this particular case, I like to use the mixer view. So I don't want my mixer shown. Here's my mixer. Once again, it's got a different color because it's automated. If you bring this mixer up, you can see the line and the automation following it along. So I'm going to bring it up so that it's fairly loud. And it should be all set that when I play, moving this around will change the volume. Once again, you won't hear it because of the capture. So I'm going to hit play. And once again, you can't hear it, but if you play it back, whoop, 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 whoop. I forgot the most important thing. Before playing back, you go back to here and you take it off a right. X that out. Now when you play it back, it'll follow this path. To get rid of this automation, you got a few options. You can hide it just to clean things up. If you want to see it again, you go to Trim, Show All Active, and it'll come back. You can also clear envelope. Yes. Next, I'm going to show you how to put just little points in an envelope, just to control a certain section of the audio. So once again, you go to Trim, Volume. Leave this on Trim and Read. Exit out. So let's just say I wanted to quiet down a few bars here. Once again, I just use the selection tool, and got to highlight this. I just clicked off it. It's not highlighted. If I go like that, it is now highlighted. You can tell by the white line. This little guy here will put in 4 points in that time selection. And you can see how useful this can be. So I'm going to click that. You can see these little dots show up. And now you can just quiet down that one little section of music or adjust it any way you want. I'd play it, but you won't hear it. Got a couple of folders in here, bus 1, bus 2. And the purpose of a bus is that you can add a plugin on the bus and route individual tracks to that bus. So, one plugin, let's say a reverb, can handle reverb for several tracks. So I'll show you how to do that. You go to Route, Add New Send, and we'll make it bus 1. I usually change this to pre. It seems to give you some control over the panning feature of the bus you're going to. And just X that out. Now I get down to bus 1, and I'm going to add a reverb here. Once again, you click on FX. You go to the Solaris Reverb VST3. Add. I'll just leave it on this setting here. Exit down. So what should happen now is if this is up, you make this bigger. And let's say I pan this to the right. The meter should only move on the right. I'll bring up the mixer, it'll probably show it better. But once again, this track 1 is going to this reverb. And if I have panned right, then it makes it just come out the right ear. I'm going to bring up the mixer again. And you won't hear it, but maybe you can see it. This mixer here should show, this bus 1 should show levels on the right, because I have it panned to the right. And it's going to be this track that's going to there. And I'll push play, and hopefully this works. So you got 2 tracks recorded, and these were both, from the clean guitars, let's say. Let's say you wanted to add an amp sim in here. So let's go to the 3rd track. Once again, it's set to 1 because that's where it's connected to at the Focusrite. And I'll go to FX again. And let me do positive rib, which is bias FX. This free version is pretty limited. It's only in mono. I'll click that, click add. Take a second for it to boot up. And this is the way it comes up. It's got all kinds of, some presets in here, I should say. I could do a tutorial on this thing in itself. Let me just go to one that's got a bunch of stuff. Could take it out of the chain, add it to the chain, delete it entirely. Can add stuff, click the add button. It's already got a noise gate here, but you could add a noise gate. Let's go down to, say, an EQ. And you could just simply stick this EQ over here. X this out. Double click this. sorry, single click it, and there's how you can handle your EQing. Click on your amp and it brings up your amp, different settings. It's kind of endless. I'm going to remove this one. And this was a free one. And it actually sounded pretty nice right on this default setting. And it has a ton of factory presets in there as well. For free, you can't beat this one. So now when you go to record, make sure these are disarmed. Let's say you're playing along with them. You arm this one. And once again, you won't hear it, but as I strum my guitar, it's going through the Blue Cat amp. You can see it reading there. You can change the gain and all that stuff, go to town. And I'll hit record, and it'll record that. Kind of more advanced stuff if you're interested in doing. Copy, paste, cut, and just moving stuff around in general. Once again, the grid is very important in this. So it's on a grid. So it's always going to snap to a grid. I should also show you this too. Lots of times when you're starting out, it's a good idea. You got to stretch this out to see it. To set up your beats per minute. It's in here somewhere. Just give me a second. Oh yeah, it's right here. So this is where you double click this and you can, you could just change it to 80 if you wanted, which will actually slow down everything we recorded because it was already coded in 120. So I'm going to go back to 120. But that's how you set up your beats per minute. It's usually the first thing I do to get an idea of, the tempo of whatever I'm doing. So getting back to moving stuff around, it's on a grid. Well, I'll do cut first. Yeah, right click, excuse me, right click, and you say cut items. It's gone. If you made a mistake, go to edit, undo. Highlight this, right click, copy items. Now you just, pick another spot you want to put it to. Move this guy to where you want. And it should paste here. Right click, paste. You have to scroll back. It does that for some reason. So there it is. It took this and copied it there. Once again, I'm going to right click and cut items. You can do the same with select areas. So I'm going to click this here and then draw and highlight it, right click. In this case, I'm going to say cut area of items. And it just removes that area. Edit, undo. Still have my selection area up here. Go to this one, right click, and say copy selected area items. Now it just copied that one little area. Once again, just go over here or wherever you want to put it, whatever track you want to put it on. You can put it on any track you want. Right click, paste. And it took that little area here and stuck it over here. So this is moving stuff around with an off grid. Sometimes you need to do that because if you move something, you'll notice it wants to snap to a grid. Watch, I'll move this here and it just chunks to the next grid. It can be useful sometimes to shut the grid off, which is up here. The lines are gone and you can move this any little bit you want. Other features are trimming. If you go right to the end here, you can trim this. Here it is again. Trim that. This is left clicking to do this. So this can be useful at times to line things up if they're just slivers of movement is needed. You can also right click and select nudge. It's in here somewhere. Be down here. Nudge set items. So what I'm going to do here is turn the grid back on, and I'll just hold down my control key and use my mouse scroll button to make this large so you can see it. Scroll out here to make it large, and I'll put my cursor right here. You can also drag the cursor when it's in the grid move mode. So let's say I wanted to move this audio. It's going to move it by 1 millisecond left or right. I'm going to change this to 10 so it can be seen better. And I'm going to say move. I didn't see it. Anyway, we'll just do nudge right for now. That nudges right. Now it will nudge left because I've cleared out what's before the audio. Right. So that's how you can move stuff around using the nudge tool. The loop tool can be very useful. To use the loop tool, you just simply drag the area you want to loop. So we'll just loop this area here. And, you're not going to hear anything. You click this button here. They call it toggle repeat. I call it loop. Put your cursor here. You push play, and it's going to loop this section. You'll be able to watch it loop back. This is using the S key on the keyboard. I have it off grid right now, and I could take and move this guy manually up here anywhere I want. And, just go here. And if you hit S on your keyboard, it splits it right there. And let's say you want to split another section. Over to here. Once again, just, hit the S key. And now it's separated these guys from each other. This is here. This is there. And this can be useful for moving stuff around. If you had the grid on, once again, you wouldn't be able to manually, it would snap to a grid. So you got to kind of play that, what you need at the time when you're doing this. Another thing, once you get everything moved around the way you want, you highlight the first one, hold your shift key down, highlight the last one, and right click and select glue items. Now it brings it right back to normal, or however you modified it, makes it all one wave file again. Mentioned before about beats per minute and how it's a good idea to get an idea of the tempo and set this at the beginning. And that's where the metronome comes in handy. This is the metronome up here. If you click on it and right click, so it's armed now when it's highlighted. And what it will do, you can set up, the strong hits in any manner you want. It could be on the first beat or the third, whatever you want. And you can have it set to run in metronome during playback. You can have it set to count in before playback, run metronome during recording, count in before recording. And I find this pretty useful for setting the beats per minute. It shuts it off. If you need to change the level of the audio, there's a way of doing it to normalize it right out of the gate. So you just highlight it, and this is a custom action I installed. It normalizes items, and you should see the waveform get greater. So that's one way to do it. You can toggle it away again. So normalized, and that's the level you recorded it at. This can be useful if you need some more gain. Sometimes you might need to freeze tracks. And what that's involved with that is, here for example, I have a reverb plugin on this track. And let's say I add a reverb plugin on another type of reverb on this track. This is a pretty nice free one. It's under developers Wave Alchemy Magic 7. I'm going to add that one. And this has got a ton of presets in it, just like all the other ones do. Anyway, I'm going to X that out. So now I have a plugin on both these. But sometimes if you get, if it's overloading your CPU, what you can do is embed the plugin into the audio. And the way you do that is you highlight it over here, right click, render freeze tracks. So it's a mono track. And you go down to here, select that. Okay. So what you just saw happen is it did a rendering. You notice the plugins is not activated anymore. So that frees up some stress on your CPU. I'll do the same over here. Highlight it, right click, freeze tracks. Once again, it's a mono track. And it shuts off the effect. So you just removed two plugins that were using CPU power, and they're embedded now into the tracks. You can also unfreeze them. Highlight it over here. Freeze tracks, unfreeze tracks. Plugins back, tracks back to normal. Render freeze tracks, scroll down, unfreeze tracks. Plugins back on, everything's back to normal. I'm going to show you how to do takes. I'm going to stretch this way out. It's set for input 1. It's on for recording. And what will happen is this will remain in place, even though you're going to record over it again and do another take. And you can do several takes. I'm going to set up a loop here. Once again, you just highlight it here. Click this button here for looping. Now it's going to loop this area. It's going to record as many takes as you want as it loops through. So I'm going to push record. Whoop. Be nice if I went back to the beginning. Let me right click this. Cut items. Got rid of that. Rewind. So we're all set up. Go on loop. Got the loop section set up. It's on for recording. I got a signal going in. Can see it on the meters. And now you push record. It's take after take right now. So here's all the takes that you just did. Once again, you won't be able to hear it because of the way this is set up for capture. But if you highlight this one and you push play, you can shut this off if you want. And you push play, it'll play this WAV file. Highlight this one, plays this WAV file, and so on. Plays that WAV file. So you have every take you've done, the original one and every following one. When you find one you like, there's a bunch of stuff you can do. You can, let's say you like this one. You can right click, go to take, and you can say crop to active take. It deletes all the other takes. Go over here to undo. You can right click and take and crop to active take. And it'll just bring up the take that you wanted. Edit, undo. Another thing you can do, and I've had to use this quite a bit, is you can right click, go to take, explode all takes to new tracks. Now what this does is this stays here, and all these tracks here that are gray with no names are all those individual takes spread out. Go to view, mixer, you'll see them in there now as well, right here. All these grayed areas. Edit, undo, trackball, edit, undo, deploy takes. So once you have a bunch of tracks ready to be mixed down or rendered, or actually when you're just even listening while mixing, if you have any latency issues, there's a couple of things that you could focus on. So you go to options, and you go to preferences again. You go to device. You're active on the screen again. ASIO configuration. You want this on, this is mainly for Eddie O with his computer, but you want this on 128 if you're tracking along with something you've already recorded. In other words, you're listening to back to what you played, and now you're putting down another track. This 128 figure will give you the best conditions as far as latency goes. So if you're mixing, and ideally when you're tracking, you're not running a lot of plugins. But when you're mixing down and doing playback, you might want to change this to something like 512 and just keep it at that setting and say OK. And what this will enable you to do is to actually use all the plugins without causing latency. If you still have latency issues, you just need to find the plugin that's causing latency. And there's ways of doing that. Under View, you have a performance meter. And this will show you what tracks are using what. So I'm going to shut off the plug-in here. And we're at 5 or so on the CPU, and you can see all the usage here. And I'm going to set it up as a loop so I can watch what happens here. My selection, push the loop button, and push play. So you can see the CPU going up, and you can see individual tracks CPU usage. Now, if I add this plugin, this one should jump up. So you can see it jumped up a little bit. So it's an accumulation of all these different plugins that cause latency. Now, I know from experience that running with this little amount of CPU, there's probably no latency going on. Obviously, this is a capture video, so we can't hear anything to even detect if there's latency. I'm just going by the meters. So the point is that, the mix down, once again, options, preferences, device, and no, stupid thing, it disappears sometimes. Here it is here. Just change the buffer size. So 128 for tracking, I'll listen to other tracks. And if there's latency issues, 512. This is to insert a MIDI keyboard into the computer. I know I gave you that cord. I can't recall if I had a USB out or a MIDI out, but you can get a MIDI adapter for $30 or so, MIDI to USB. At any rate, the first step you normally do is go to Options, Preferences, and you go to MIDI Inputs. I already have it set up here. I'm using the Key Studio, and it's selected for Input, All, and Control. Control enables you to use the volume knob on the keyboard itself to control the volume. And just click OK. Then you're going to add your virtual track. And it's over here under Track. Insert Virtual Instrument Track. And it'll come up with the plugin. And right here I have a free piano I found online. Just add that. If you say no to this, what this does is it splits it out across 16 tracks, because it's 16 tracks of MIDI. But I don't want that. I just want it on one track, and it will be a stereo track if the plugin is stereo. So there's the plugin. You won't hear anything. And there it is. When I'm hitting my keyboard, you'll notice it moving around. So I'm playing my keyboard now, and you can see the notes moving. You can X that out. The only thing else, and here's the track here, is the input. Like when you're doing the audio, you got to select the input from your Focusrite. Here, you got to select the MIDI input. And this case, it defaulted to all MIDI, which is fine. That works. I usually, because I use so many MIDI items, I usually do the individual one. So I'm using Key Studio. That's what I selected. So we're on for recording. I'm pushing on the keys now. You can see I have a meter reading. The yellow is showing that it's receiving MIDI. That's what yellow means, MIDI. Okay, so now I'm going to push record. And let me shrink this up. And you can see the MIDI data going in. I'm just randomly hitting notes on the keyboard. And you hit play, and it'll play it back, as you can see by the meter here. Yeah, I'll mute these guys. Mute. Mute. Once again, this will only play if you have a plug-in that plays MIDI, like an instrument plug-in. So like I have, BBC Symphony Orchestra and all that stuff. It all works the same way.